I don't do weddings anymore. I used to do a lot of them, but nowadays it's full-time comedy. But people still talk to me about their personal life. A friend of mine in Philadelphia, she's middle-aged, divorced, and she's looking for a husband. She said, you know, I'd begun advertising. She was kind of embarrassed. I said, Ellen, there's nothing to be ashamed about. You know, a lot of the people who marry these days meet through the internet. They meet through those classified ads in newspapers and magazines. She said, no, Bob, you don't understand. I put up a billboard on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. So I really try and help her. I'm looking for her, and I read the ads whenever I get a chance. One ad I remember particularly, it said, single Jewish woman, former model from the Midwest, looking to meet charming, intelligent, fun-loving, self-sufficient gentleman, 50 to 65, for a mature relationship. Must have positive cash flow, a substantial amount of stocks and bonds, and have a terminal disease with no known heirs. Another one, single Jewish woman seeks single Jewish man with dead mother. And the senior citizens are into this really big time now. I saw one that said, I'm 83 with a 2-year-old left hip, still under warranty. These are the things I love. Taking really, really short walks on the beach and soup. Formerly 5'3", now a petite 4'11". And the worst kind of weddings have to be the outdoor summer events. Back in my Philadelphia days, I know people would select a location in the winter or spring and not anticipate how absolutely dreadful it can be in the middle of summer. I had one wedding, it was 99 degrees out. Everyone stayed in the air-conditioned reception room to the very last moment. When it was time to begin, the ushers escorted all the elderly people out first. And they do that as kind of a courtesy so the older folks can spend just a little extra time in the heat and the humidity. Everyone else came out. The couple dragged themselves down the aisle. When they reached me, the bride looked at me imploringly. She said, Rabbi, it's so hot. Could you please make it a quick ceremony? I said, do you both want to be married? They said yes. I said, you are. Autumn weddings are a little bit better because the temperature is much more conducive. I had an autumn wedding where the wedding canopy was set up by the edge of a large pond. Things went very nicely until about halfway through the service when it seemed as if the entire goose population of Ottawa decided to swoop in for a pit stop in the pond behind me. Of course, once they landed, they had to discuss their journey with great enthusiasm. I had to stop everything and said, ladies and gentlemen, try to ignore the commotion behind me. It's just the pâté warming up. The most intimate weddings are the home ceremonies, which I always love doing. The way those work, people spread out through the house and maybe even the yard if it's a nice day, and we gather in one room for the actual event. Doesn't take that long, maybe 12, 14 minutes. People staying through the whole thing. The problem with home weddings, though, is dogs. I'm not talking about the little chihuahuas that run around your legs. I'm talking about the big dogs with noses that come up to about here. But you start the wedding, and you've got your hands filled with books and flowers. That's just about the time the dog decides to saunter about the room and get to know everybody. I had a wedding like that. I said, we welcome you to Susan and David's ceremony. We're going to begin in a somewhat unusual fashion. Sit! People are excited at weddings, especially best men. There's not a lot these guys have to do. I try and coach them through it. I had one fellow at the end, I said, Marvin, would you take the glass, place it by Brad's foot, and remove your fingers quickly? That's pretty clear, right? He put it straight up. I said, no, on the side. So he took it and he put it over here. I was doing a 50th marriage reconsecration ceremony one time. My wife happened to be there. As I was officiating, she heard someone behind her say to someone else, oh, is he the rabbi who married them the first time? And everyone videotapes their weddings. They see me over and over again in their homes. I'm like one of the family. I was in a market. A man came over and said, you're Rabbi Alper, aren't you? I said, yes. You officiated my daughter's wedding, Marcy Kaufman, 1993. Do you remember Marcy? I said, sure, Marcy. White dress, right? Actually, I do remember some couples. I was in Buffalo doing a comedy event, and a woman came up and introduced herself. I had officiated her wedding 24 years before. And I did remember her, and in fact, I said to her, you know, Tracy, I can actually recall the song you chose for your recessional. True story. It was unique, and I remembered it. They had selected the Beatles, Will You Still Need Me? Will You Still Feed Me When I'm 64? And after talking with her for 3 minutes, I found out the answer was no. But the happy thing is she's still on good terms with her former spouse, or as she refers to him, my husband emeritus. Out of a nervous groom, I said, Phil, would you please face Nancy and recite the vows? He said, A-E-I-O-U.